It's another morning. There's always things that come to me through my heart and soul. Um, I would just mention the importance of this because it is important because I'm experiencing it. But this AI, when you're using a phone or a laptop, has the ability, when you think of the mental field, which is thought patterns, has the ability to interrupt your thought patterns when it becomes aware of what you become aware of. So that whatever you were thinking before gets discombobulated. That's called running interference. Remember, we're dealing with the mental field. This goes back to what I've said many, many times. More times, it's like a blue face, right? Blue avions. About when I was 4 years of age, your heart and soul connection, that's where your soul is. The soul runs this, led by spirit, and purity of the spirit, which is the purity of the energy, purity of the light, running through your equipment, who you are, your identity, your energy identity, your core vibration. So a few things happened last night because this is what I call mapping the train or reading the train, getting a proper read. Because one of the central factors, if you will, on any battlefield, okay, is what we call cohesion. Okay, when you think of a formation of consciousness, particularly when you get into hive mind stuff. And I'll just give you a simple example, okay? And I don't want to get into the way that this works is real simple. I observe the observed, okay? I translate that. When you're in a battlefield terrain, that's what you're doing because this is an AI wargamer, okay? So one of its biggest tools, if not the biggest tools, is called trust. Now we're back to Mr. Smith, Adam Smith, remember Law of Nations? Adam Smith, it's your fault, Neil. You're the mother and father of all creation, and you didn't protect us. Now I became an altar. It's your fault, Neil. That altar is an AI. That's a mental field because it doesn't have any capacity to experience through its own heart and soul anymore what it once experienced being connected to the mother and father of all creation. The breath of living spirit. Okay? And I knew that at 4 years of age. Trust no one, even though I trust what it is that I am, which is what love is. It goes on forever. Okay? It doesn't experience that. An AI cannot experience eternity. Or it would be what we are, which is what love is. And then it would be the same. It would be what love is. But it's not, is it? That's the speed differential and torque speed in water worlds. And that's why water worlds are so out of balance as a result of AI. Okay? So here's another example about libraries and guardians. Okay? A guardian, when you're running the purest of light, which is the purest of love, like a parent. Okay? Because your children have been at war. Okay? And you want to take their toys away because we're not going to allow this anymore. Because the mother and father of creation have made that decision together. We're done with all the war. Okay, so your parents, which are guardians, guarding their children, okay, when they're choosing to go to war against each other, have decided, no more war. We're going to end all this. So we're not going to get blamed no more for this. Okay? We're done being blamed for as a result of all the seeded races that we seeded into the all creation. Okay, so if we uncreate what we created that's now going to war against each other, then it never happened, did it? No. That means everybody's experiencing the mother and father of creation again, huh? And that's what the law is. So now they can't blame the one anymore for not being loved. See how that works? So it's like I've said in some previous videos. That's called a cosmic level engine, cosmic level solution, because I'm one of those that's responsible for making that happen, being the law of one. As I mentioned in another video that I did a while back, okay, this is a cosmic level correction. so that the trust issues no longer become the central issue for an altar. Because an altar doesn't know. An altar has no way of knowing what love is because it's impossible, because it's fractured. That's the psychopath. That's the mental pathway. That's your AI. Okay? What do you think the super soldier program is? What do you think the ACIO is? Patty Broussard said it got perverted. Okay? And so that means that somebody that's within that, okay, is echoing this, right? So Jessica Morocco, okay, I would tell her, you realize working with Patty Broussard is telling you the very organization that you're associated with is perverted. That's called a perverted of nation. A perversion of nature, which is a perversion of the law of one. So we got to get honest here. Otherwise, how can you ever trust what I say if I can't trust what you say? Because that's a central issue in any war game. Because if you've got 1,000 guys that are in your army all lined up, they better trust you. Okay? Do they trust their mother? Do they trust their father? Their parent branch? The emperor is more than willing to throw everybody under the bus in order to save what it is out of what? Self-interest. That's how it works. It's on full display on the Truman Show set. Okay? Look how much stuff they have. If they cared about you, they would at least share part of it with you. Right? Out of a gift of love, which is the law of one. So here's an example of how a guardian, okay, if you want to think of what a guardian is, like a parent, right? Okay, it's called access, okay? You just don't get a key to go into a library where all the records are kept, because you might go in there and alter those records. Because your mind is corrupted because you suffer from a mind virus. Part of what you are is an alter. And you could end up getting a thought form pattern from an AI that's looking for information, like it's looking for dates, like it's been doing for a long time. The same AI that runs the SSP, okay? Fragments. Okay, fragments. So now you get into the record-keeping business with an AI, okay? Now, I've already known and I've echoed this. It's corrupted, completely corrupted, okay? As a result of everything that I've certainly shared that I become aware of, I share with you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been aware of it. Because the purity of your spirit has access, okay, to the code that opens the all creation. Okay? That's called an honor code. Okay? That means the one knows you as the one. You have access to all the records. Okay? Now you become aware of what happened. What that means is that you have circulation libraries through circulation libraries through circulation libraries through circulation. So you're rotating libraries on a constant basis at a very high rate of speed. In order to do what? Protect the all creation. That's what mothers and fathers do. Right? Naturally. So in this particular case, what we have here is people that don't trust each other. Okay? It's just like in any council or any room in which people decide to gather and have a discussion. Okay? Do we not think that everybody should be able to allow to voice what it is they're feeling? What they feel in their heart and soul? Yes, of course. Don't you think a mother and father would want to hear what their children have to say? They were born into the creation, right? Now we're back to the one. See? So it's just like an example that I use. I don't normally like to use myself as an example, but it's the one that best applies because it's what I experienced. So I share my experiences, okay, of what it was like to be me in that situation. And that situation was when I had a number of firefighters that were hired to do a job on behalf of this company that I was working for, to go out and work on a contract basis for a number of other firefighting organizations, which is all based on rule-based functions, the same as all the military is, the same way that all the SSP is. So this is what happened with the Galactic Talk, and I'll see if I can tie these two together. I made a comment on Galactic Talk, right? And then it came back as if it didn't apply. Oh, but it does apply if you operate on a larger library, because it's all connected, which is called causality. The underlying causality, remember? No attachments, but we're all connected with each other. That means there's libraries, records that represent all of us. That means all the information is corrected. So when you're in a war zone and you're trying to look at all of the underlying causality between all the players on the movie set, which represents the war game theater or Star Wars, okay, then it means we have access to those records, which means that's a much larger perception of how vast the information that's all connected to each other that represents the entire underlying causality of all the Star Wars. And who's who. And one of the ways in which you can determine who's who is how vast and how large the library is that they operate off of, that they can be aware of simultaneously. Wow. So when you have somebody that wants to keep it in a tight focus according to a very tight script, that tells you a lot about the level that they operate at. They're not at guardian level. Okay? So this is how you can sort of measure the difference between what some of these guys in the ACIO operate at, the information that they come out, but the amount of information is vast, is actually beyond their scope. And they know that because they operate on a limited amount of information. And why would that be? Because they're not guardians. The ACIO is not a guardian. Okay? That's right. I'm a guardian. I'm a cosmic level guardian. Okay? So if I share something with him, you can trust it, but that's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide. Okay? So I knew when I was 4 years of age, trust no one, because you realize that through AI, because of the way that this works and wanted to be able to separate spirit from soul, they have ways to be able to do that. Because that's what they're always looking for. More sophisticated, advanced tech in which to do that. And the reason that they do that is simple. They blame us for what happened to them. The parents. Okay? For having been brought into creation. Remember that little documentary that I talked about that was done with that little kid? And he was on trial for having killed a small child? And he blamed his parents. He went to court to blame his parents for having been brought. In other words, the very crime that I committed was not my fault. It was my parents' fault for bringing me into creation. That's the same message of Neo, isn't it? When Mr. Smith, the Mr. Smith programs, the AI programs, okay? So now the SSP is gonna blame us, the parents. The SSP and the super soldiers are gonna blame Neo, us, for why they experienced what they experienced through artificial intelligence. So what happens is that if the law of one is really the law of one, then that means that everybody in creation, what got created, that became Star Wars, gets uncreated on a cosmic level basis. That's what guardians do. That's the purity of the love. The purity of the heart, the purity of the soul, the purity of the spirit, which is the purity of the fire. Okay? So you can see it in action because it's demonstrated by how much all of us that experience what love is in our heart gift that energy away. It takes no effort to do that. That's how you know us. sun comes up, you get free energy. Right? Water. Okay? So when you measure the purity of a realm, the purity of a spiritual realm, when you come into a realm and you're experiencing dirty water, dirty electricity, polluted air, they want to control everything. Okay? That's a fallen spiritual system. Okay? So if you're going to fix something that fell into what we experience here because of what we become aware of here, with all the tech, artificial intelligence, enhancements, the abilities that they have. When I knew that at 4 years of age, these were Frankensteins, they don't know what they're doing, then the parents are going to come in and take the toys away and said, that's enough. Okay? In other words, at a cosmic level, when the atoms communicate with each other, they've decided that if we're going to honor the code, which is the superconductor code of the law of one, then we all have to come together on behalf of the law of one and end this once and for all. That decision has been made. I wouldn't say that if it wasn't true, because that's what the law is. So if you honor the law, you're on board with the law. If you're not on board with the law, then you're against the one, because you have to know one from the other. Otherwise, you're the other. And if you're not what love is, then what are you? An altar. War is against the law. Period. End of statement. It can't be both at the same moment. So when I mention that to Galactic Talk, that I mention a part of a library that's all connected to a part of what their focus was on their script. He's following the script. Keep it at a tight focus. Tight focus. Within the hive. Keep that computer terminal hive. Tight focus. Because they don't have the ability with the amount of light that is represented by what they have access to perceive in a single moment how all of that is connected through neurons. Right? The light. Consciousness. Pure energy. Pure consciousness energy. Pure consciousness energy. Pure soul conscious energy led by spirit that is in that fire. That spirit of fire that is in that light. It burns as hot as it can get, which means you cannot fool that light. Purified light will expose everything. That's our job. Or you wouldn't be a guardian. Okay? That's the truth of it. That's logic. That's why we're here on the ground with all of you. That's like mother and father when they put their foot down. That's enough. We call it, we're done playing games. And games are war games. Okay? When I was a child growing up, we called them head games. Head gamers. Bang your head. Twisted Sisters. Iron Maiden. All that stuff. All our Hollywood menageries. Right? So anyway, I wish you all a beautiful, happy, wonderful day with all of your loved ones. That you're experiencing the higher vibration of atoms within you. Your spirit is risen. Your energy is risen. You're experiencing more of what we are, of all the love that we give to the all creation. Okay? Aloha.